Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a drama from South Korea, Korean language English subs, released in the year 2019, directed by Bong-joon Ho, and this film is called Parasite. So Parasite opens up with a very poor family. They live in a basement home, they use other people's Wi-Fi, and they make a living by folding pizza boxes for a pizza company. So it's not really a good existence, but the existence is going to change when the young son of the family, his best friend is an English tutor who tutors this beautiful young woman who's part of a very rich family. And so this guy is actually going overseas, and he says to his friend, who he knows is desperate for money, "Why don't you take my place?" And so this young man, he doesn't have a college degree, and so he doesn't know how he can do this, but his sister, who is very good at design, actually forges a certificate to indicate that he is qualified. And so this is what he does. The guy goes and gets an interview with the mother of this rich family, and he wins her over. And so she says, "Okay, you can tutor my daughter." So he starts to generate a bit of income. Things are looking up for the family, but then this tutor realises that there's an opportunity for the rest of his family to come in and work for them. So whether it's the father who has been a driver in the past, the mother who has been a housemaid, or the sister who is very good at acting, and she can give the impression that she can help the young child of this rich family. And so slowly the poor family are taking advantage of the rich family, but with every action comes a consequence that threatens to derail everything. So whether or not it does is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Parasite. To say that I was excited for this movie was a complete understatement, as Bong-joon Ho is one of my favourite directors. He is the reason why I fell in love with South Korean cinema in the first place. His movies Memories of Murder is one of my favourite movies of all time. That was just an incredible experience. It's an experience that I'd recommend to everybody, especially if you like serial killer films such as David Fincher's Zodiac. I believe Memories of Murder is so much better than Zodiac, and unfortunately the reason why no one really talks about Memories of Murder as much as it deserves is because it is a foreign film. It is a subtitled movie, and a lot of people don't like subtitles. So I think that's a great shame, because you're really missing out on great films, and Bong-joon Ho is a clear example of this. So he's made other movies called The Host, which is a creature feature movie, and I thought that was an incredibly interesting film, is because on one hand you've got the creature feature that will appeal to a younger audience, but you've also got underlying societal commentary that will appeal to a more mature audience. And so that was a very, very complicated film, and I thought the complication of that movie was handled perfectly. I don't believe it's his best film, but it's one of his most interesting. But one of my favourite Bong-joon Ho films is one of the movies that don't really get talked about at all, and that is Mother. I thought that was a very good film about a mother's undying love for her son, and she is going to prove his innocence no matter what. I thought that was a very loving film, but at the same time a very disturbing film. So you get so much more than just a simple movie as far as this director is concerned. Then he also made an English-speaking movie called Snowpiercer that I thought was a movie about classes in society. And so he has such a good track record. Coming into Parasite, this has a lot of hype. It won a Golden Globe, and so everyone is talking about this movie as being an absolute masterpiece. And the reason why I wasn't skeptical coming into this film is because of the pedigree of this director. You know, his credentials and his, the recent form that this guy has. I had so much excitement, and I wasn't going to let any skepticism get in the way of that excitement. So when I finally watched Parasite, I will say that this movie lives up to everything that I wanted it to be. This is masterful storytelling. This is storytelling told in a way where it is never ever boring. There is underlying sort of moments in the movie that make you think, but it never clouds the entertainment that the film wants. And basically the film wants to be entertaining to prevent it from being boring. But along the way, there are different things thrown at you in a web of complication, but because the complication is handled so well, you never get sidetracked, you never get bogged down, you never struggle to know what's going on, is because it's all so clear. The clarity of the film was absolutely fantastic, and if it was handled by a lesser director, this movie wouldn't have worked as well as it does. Now, what I loved about it is that it was so interesting. It was so interesting the way that this poorer family were taking advantage of this richer family. Are the richer family going to find out what this poor family is all about? And so I thought their suspense levels are there. And so there's a very human connection to this film as well, is that the upper class, how they look upon the lower class, and vice versa. And I thought, well, that's something that we can look at in everyday life, and that was something that was relevant in Snowpiercer, the different classes and how different classes react to each other. I thought the reactions in Parasite were fascinating, because not only is it a social commentary on upper class, middle class, and lower class, and the big gulf in between them. But it was also a movie about parasite. Now, basically parasitic sort of behaviour, in that you're going to leech off someone until you get absolutely everything from them, and then you will leech onto another person. And this is not only the poorer family leeching upon the rich family, but also the rich family are leeching on other people. And so it's like a domino effect. And in society, a lot of people leech off each other, and so we are all parasites. And so this movie Parasite is very, appropriately titled, because the parasitic sort of element to this movie is what makes it so thought-provoking. And so I thought to myself, well, this is typical Bong-joon Ho, is that he's giving you something a little bit more than just a standard thriller. And so I thought the thrilling aspects were handled to perfection. The script is absolutely phenomenal. There's a very loving connection between this poorer family, which indicates, poorer people are connected to each other because they don't have the barrier of money. And I thought the contrasting difference between these two families was there. And I thought the rich family as well, they still had loving connections, so they weren't cold. So every one of these characters has a very humane way about them, which makes the film even more tragic, because it all adds up to a very, very shocking ending. And that shocking ending was just an absolutely fantastic way to cap off what was an example of how to tell a story. So the cinematography was absolutely fantastic. You've got very bleak existence in this poor family, but there's a contrasting difference with this rich family. Everything is polished, everything is clean. And so it's dictating how you feel about each family through the visuals. You got Kang-ho, who is a fantastic South Korean actor. He plays the father of the poor family. He is a fantastic actor. He's teamed up with Bong-joon Ho quite a few times, and I could sense the trust between actor and director. I could sense the trust between director and all of the actors, but more so with Kang-ho. He's one of my favourite Korean actors, and he showcases how brilliant he is in giving a very raw portrayal of a man who's desperate, who wants to make the most for his family. And so it's a 2-hour film, but it never feels like it goes for 2 hours, because the entertainment is always there to captivate the average audience, but there's a little bit more in it if you want to look a little bit deeper beyond the surface. And so it's everything that Bong-joon Ho is, known for. It's everything that it's all the good things that make him an absolutely brilliant director. He said in his acceptance speech in the Golden Globes that if you can get over the barrier of subtitles, you can be exposed to absolutely wonderful films. And Parasite are one of those movies that you just have to experience, because movies like this don't really get made in Hollywood. I'm sure that this is going to be a remake, and a lot of people are going to watch it, and who knows, the remake might be okay, but I believe that it would be nowhere near the masterpiece that Bong-joon Ho has created in Parasite. It's another masterpiece of his. It didn't let me down. It's absolutely fantastic. You've got a lot of humour in the film. You've got a lot of sad, touching moments and some shocking moments, but the entertainment, nothing ever clouds the entertainment, and it never becomes disjointed. It's just a beautifully fluent film, and it's one of the best movies I've watched in a very long time, and for that I'm going to give Parasite 5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.